Hi, everybody. I am Alan Cram,
Hey, I'm Josh.
and we are your Marvel correspondents for Victims and Villains. And today we're going to do something a little bit different than we usually do because a lot has happened today in the world of Marvel Cinematic Universe. So our main topic tonight is going to be we're talking about the first Doctor Strange because evidently back in 2016, Victims and Villains did not review Doctor Strange. So we'll be talking about that. We're going to be talking about the latest Marvel trailer that dropped today, and we're going to be talking about what's going on in the MCU over on Disney Plus. So let's get into our first topic, which is the Thor: Love and Thunder trailer that dropped this morning on the internet. The trailer to the fourth Thor film. Josh, we haven't had a chance to talk about this yet beyond, hey, we should talk about this on the show tonight.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the Love and Thunder trailer?
Well, first of all, well done on the little portals.
Thank you.
Things you got going on here. Looks sharp. It's definitely a teaser. It definitely felt like a teaser. Lately I have been doing like the best I can just to not look up things on movies, and even I know who the villain is for this film, and that's not referenced at all in this trailer. So I kind of liked that it was just a teaser, just showed a couple of things. It was over really quickly, but I like the vibe. I mean, it's definitely continuing on with the Taika Waititi vibe that we got from Ragnarok.
Yeah.
I had some issues with Ragnarok, and I know a lot of people were split on that. Some thought it was too funny, some thought it was just perfect, and it seems like this is kind of continuing down that path. But overall, I like the trailer. The only thing I really had a gripe with was I thought the Mighty Thor reveal at the end was kind of lackluster. I thought it could have been a little more fanfare than it was.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised that we only got a quick glimpse of Natalie Portman as Jane Foster with Mjolnir. That being said, I loved what we got from it. She looks phenomenal. Not that she never looks phenomenal.
Them guns for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I was surprised that it was such a little part of it. The trailer really leaned into the Guardians of the Galaxy aspect of the movie and a lot of like Thor doing what Thor's doing. I really hope that we get an 80s training montage of Thor losing all the weight from Endgame. Because if that's not in this movie, I'm going to be very upset.
Thor's like 3 different sizes in this trailer. Did you notice that? He's like large Thor from the end of Endgame, and he's like super like skinny, like thin, not super thin, but just like toned Thor.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's the muscle Thor we normally see him as. It seemed like everybody was kind of like even Star-Lord was kind of skinnier or more fit. Like maybe they had like a workout fight or something like that. Like
I'm sure they did.
Will had to work out as well.
Yeah, I'm sure they did. I'm excited to see the Guardians in this. I'm excited to see what's going on with New Asgard. We got a little bit of Korg in here. Meek in a no Gamora.
That's being saved for the next Guardians movie.
Yeah. We got a sneak peek at Zeus, which I'm excited to see considering who is rumored to be playing him.
I haven't heard.
So I won't tell you that.
I haven't seen though. I haven't read a lot of Thor comics, but I've seen enough to recognize the panel. There was a panel ripped like straight from the page of Thor looking at like a fallen dragon
creature. Yeah.
Yeah, and it is like, I mean, it's literally the exact same panel from the comic, and I was like, that's pretty cool. That's ripped straight from the page. I mean, stones that he's standing on and everything. It looked pretty darn cool.
Yeah, the only difference I saw between that and the panel was Korg. Like Korg wasn't in
Right.
the thing. So, but yeah, I'm really excited to see why they're holding off on the villain for this in the teaser trailer,
Mhm.
because when you have Christian Bale playing the villain, you'd think that would be a reveal. But I'm kind of surprised that the big reveal for the trailer was Jane Foster's return. So
I'm surprised they even show. I'm surprised they even showed that. Like teaser trailer is normally just like the vibes, nothing of the
yeah,
main stuff.
honestly,
So
I'm surprised we got it. I'm surprised we got a teaser trailer, because the only thing up to this point that we've seen from Thor: Love and Thunder is the Marvel Legends characters, like the toys that they released with the Build-A-Figures, which I'm going to try to get my hands on because I want to build a Korg. That's the Build-A-Figure is Korg, so I don't usually collect those things.
Yeah, me either. But every time I'm walking through Walgreens, I see them like in the toy aisle and like the 5 toys that they have, and I'm like, oh, that's tempting. That could be fun to build.
Yeah.
But this movie's coming out on July 8th, so I think a lot of us were like, man, how long are they going to wait?
Yeah.
The trailer for this. They're kind of cutting it close.
I really just expected them to release one when Doctor Strange came out, like that week.
Sure.
That being said, I think this is the only trailer for Thor: Love and Thunder that I'm going to see by choice.
Yeah, I'm going to try to avoid it. I've just been doing that in general lately. If I like the first trailer, then I'll be. In fact, sometimes I've been cutting off trailers midway. If I'm like that into the film, I'm like, I don't trust the editors. So I'm gonna cut it off.
Yeah. So I'm gonna try to avoid as much marketing for this. I'm kind of surprised. I'm waiting to see if there's gonna be backlash for the tagline in the trailer that they use, which is "Not every god has a plan." Like, I'm just waiting for someone, like some group, to get upset about that.
Hey, they waited until the day after Easter. Okay.
Yeah,
so
I know.
yes,
I think that was intentional.
credit for that.
Um,
They could have released it yesterday. They really could have.
yeah, I'm really excited for this. Yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about that. In the words of Forrest Gump. Let's talk about what's going on over on Disney Plus with the first 3 episodes of Moon Knight. A little bit of behind the scenes stuff here. Originally, tonight's show was going to be just a halfway through Moon Knight review, but I don't really have much to say about it because we're only halfway through and not much has happened yet. But I was able to rewatch the first 3 episodes this evening in preparation for this.
Okay.
I'm enjoying the show. I think it has the same, like, a lot of people are saying it has, like, the internet is very mixed on this show, but I'm enjoying it. I think Oscar Isaac's doing a great job with the performance of the multiple characters that he's playing in this. I'm enjoying the action. I love the costume. What is your opinion of Moon Knight thus far?
I think it's all right. I mean, it's definitely got the best budget of the MCU film or Disney Plus shows so far. The budget looks great. You can see CGI things at times, but overall, it looks really nice. Ethan Hawke. I mean, since I was like in high school, my best friends have told me that that's my man crush, my Hollywood man crush, and he's fantastic. I really like his character. I like the vibrato that he brings to the role, and every time he's on screen, he elevates the scene. So I really like that. I mean, I have nitpicks about the show that I think don't make sense. But overall, I'm really liking it. My favorite episode was episode 2, and that was the Benson and Moorhead directed episode, and I thought that was just fantastic. I love that director duo, and if they're doing every other one, that means that they're likely going to be doing 4 and episode 4 and possibly the finale. So
yeah,
I thought they killed it in that second episode, and yeah, I mean, there's only 6 episodes, so I'm wondering where they're going to go with it.
Yeah, I am too, especially considering there's been a lot of reports that Oscar Isaac's only signed on for these 6 and nothing else. Like, his contract doesn't have, oh yeah, you'll appear in this thing later on. And I think that has to do with him being in Star Wars. Like, I don't think he wants to get burned again.
I would believe that. wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
Well, he's been in several series, like
Hmm.
that terrible X-Men movie, Star Wars. I think he just, he's a talented actor. He does a lot of stuff. He does a lot of big budget stuff. He's also done a lot of indie stuff in his past, and I'm sure his agent or his friends or his buddies or somebody was like, "Hey, you could go one of two ways. You could just be, one of those people that are always just, waiting for the MCU to,
Yeah.
tag you in, or you could set your parameters up front." So, yeah. But there's some things like what's the name of the? Is it Kanju? Is that the name
Yes.
of the? So like this isn't like super spoiler or anything like that, but like he he seems to be only in their head, but at the same time he seems to be able to control things around him. Like when he gets mad, he pushes something and everybody sees that thing get pushed over. So not everybody can see him, but if he's able to just, kick ass by himself, it kind of makes me wonder why he needs an avatar if he's this invisible force that can move objects at will.
Yeah, it's a bit confusing. Um, but I look at him kind of like the Jackal in episode 2, where it
Mhm.
it can do damage, but no one else can see it except for Mark or Steven.
Wouldn't that be the ultimate killer, though? Like, if nobody can see it, but it can move things, he could kill anybody easily.
Yeah, he
Um,
could. Yeah,
I
I'm
just
not.
keep on thinking of that every time.
Yeah, I'm not sure why they went that way. I'm sure there's a comic explanation for it. And I think what's bold about this show is this is the first Disney Plus series that focuses on a brand new character. Every other show that we've gotten has been a spin-off or continuation of characters that we know from the movies. This is the first one where it's brand new. They mentioned Egypt once in Winter Soldier and had nothing to do with Moon Knight. Um,
Right.
so
And they
I
mentioned that city that was in Winter Soldier,
Madripoor.
Madripoor. They mentioned that in episode 3 of Moon Knight, and that's like the only thing that I've really noticed that connects the series to the MCU. So I kind of like that they haven't gone out of their way to like over reference a bunch of shit
Yeah.
or cameo a bunch of stuff. I mean, there's 3 more episodes. It could happen, but so
Yeah.
far it's kind of really focused on this brand new character.
Like Ethan Hawke's not mad at Tony Stark for building something in a cave. So
Another villain
Yeah.
villain that comes from Iron Man. Yeah.
yeah. But I'm excited to see where it goes in the next 3 episodes. It's weird that we're halfway through the show already. It feels like it just started.
It is. It is,
I-
and it's going along really well. I was kind of, the guy, Anton Mogart, that was in episode 3. That's the guy
Mhm.
that died right before the series. So
Yeah.
that's kind of sad. He had a really cool kind of one-off role, and I just thought he had a lot of flair to his character, so I liked that. And then I remembered after the fact that he's the one that passed. That sucks. He looked like he could do a lot of fun roles, So
Yeah, and it was there was a tribute to him at the end of the episode, I believe. I think my Disney
was
Plus.
there?
I think I turned off my Disney Plus before I got to it. But
Hmm.
yeah, they're doing some cool stuff with the credits there too. If you pay attention, Cairo's in the reflection in the water when it's London, and then when they're in Cairo, it switches, and the moon's
Oh,
progressing more and more. So a lot of cool little Easter eggs there. I'm excited for the rest of the show. The finale is happening the first week of May, so we're gonna have shows 2 weeks back to back, probably.
neat. Mhm.
A pre Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness show talking about Moon Knight, and then post Multiverse of Madness. So my first week of May is booked solid with just shows coming on. So
Yeah, it's gonna be a busy May for sure. I'm wondering if in the next 3 episodes, like, is it just me, or I still don't see Khonshu as like a good guy. Like, I see him like more as a menacing force that's holding Mark Spector hostage and threatening to, if you leave, I'm just going to enslave
yeah,
your wife. Like, and they've had some conversations, but he still seems like a bad guy. Like I'm not saying that Ethan Hawke seems like the good guy, like that's the twist,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't think they've done enough to show Kanju as a good guy, and I'm waiting to see like if they ever do that or if they just kind of leave it in the gray zone. I don't know. Do you feel differently?
I mean, I think he's a better deity than the one that Ethan Hawke is trying to free that just murders you before you do anything bad. So I think compared to her, he's not that bad. Beyond that, lesser of two evils. I'm curious what's going to happen in episode 4 now that, spoilers, Kanju's going to be out of the picture. It looks like, at least for an episode.
Yeah, he's a little stone figurine right now.
Yeah, and I know a lot of the press for the show, like they keep doing this, like, oh, wait till you get to episode so-and-so because then things really take off. And episode 4 is the one that they were talking about with that. Like episode 4 is a game changer. So,
of course it is. Well, I did see that a lot of the press got the first 4 episodes to review off the bat. So I've been avoiding those for weeks, but
yeah,
of course they always do it like that. I guess the only other thing I liked that this was so, for the most part, until episode 3, it seemed really contained. But then there's always something in solo films and solo shows that make you think, okay, how would the Avengers not be involved in this? Like, when you see the solar system changing for the entire planet, how is Doctor Strange not being like, I should investigate this? Or at least send Wong or somebody to investigate it. Those things I can't unthink of, and it's the world that the MCU is set up for me, so I can't unthink about that. But, yeah, other than that, I felt like the show was really contained, and it worked by itself. But then as soon as you start getting bigger and bigger with stuff like that, then it's like,
yeah, it's the same question that Eternals raises, like what happens when everyone sees a celestial up in the sky, because everyone probably saw that guy.
But now we straight up have Egyptian gods, and I remember the MCU is just blowing up. I remember when space was a big thing, like Guardians of the Galaxy introduced other planets, and then Eternals introduced Eternals, and now we're into Egyptian gods. So yeah, we're just checking all the boxes.
So given that the villain of Thor: Love and Thunder is Gore the God Butcher, do you think he shows up in Moon Knight? Do you think Moon Knight ties into Love and Thunder?
No. I can't. I feel like no. I can't imagine it would. I feel like it would be cheap. Like it would cheapen the show if they did that in the last seconds. Even if it was a mid-credit scene, if they were like, wink, wink, we're gonna do that scene from Age of Ultron where Thor just randomly goes off and does a hot tub scene and talks about the Infinity Stones for no reason.
The reason I think it's highly unlikely is I don't think Christian Bale is signing up for a streaming show, even if it's just a cameo.
I mean, you got Ethan Hawke. Ethan Hawke's a pretty big name.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. I'm surprised they got him for this movie, which is again why I wasn't surprised that they held him back, because that trailer was all just good vibes, and you bring in a character called the God Butcher, and I feel like he's gonna be the solemn part of the movie. So yeah, hold him back. Don't show me that till later. I can't wait.
Yeah. All right. I'm excited to talk about the rest of Moon Knight. We'll probably do that the first week of May after the finale. So stay tuned to Victims and Villains social media feeds for that. I think
real quick. Are you Team Mark or Team Steven?
Oh.
We'll go Twilight with this. Yeah, pick a team.
Team Mark.
Okay. I feel like Team Steven is like starting to win over the wife, starting to win over Kanju. I feel like he's getting like respect that he deserves. Team Steve still being a little whiny bitch about it.
Steven was really hard to watch in the first episode. That's why the third episode was a nice refresher for me, because it was like, okay, not much Steven here. I will say I like them both in episode 2. Steven's line where float like a butterfly, sting like a bee, I'm Steven with a V. Like that was my favorite line of the show so far. But yeah, I'm Team Mark. And we'll have to check back on that when we talk about the rest of the season in our Moon Knight review in 2 weeks. So
yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I got to say one other thing.
Okay.
There's one other thing that I'm confused about Moon Knight, and
okay.
It's the very first episode when you see Mark running, or when you see Steven running around that town. He's like, "Why are people chasing me?" and everything, and then he blacks out and he wakes up and he's surrounded by dead bodies, like 4 or 5. I don't know if they're dead, but they're on the ground and they're all bloody, and you assume that that's Mark that did that. Well, there's a scene in episode 3 where Steven comes back, or Mark comes back, and he's pulling a dagger out of somebody, and he seems shocked at the level of violence.
Yeah.
Even saying he didn't do that. I thought Mark was the mercenary, but I guess that's implying that there's a third, more violent person than Mark in there somewhere. Is that what that was saying?
That's my impression of it too. Yeah, there it seems to be that there's a third identity. So maybe that'll come to the surface in the next episode, and that's why
it kicks off.
Yeah, there's the 3 of them in a white void yelling at each other. Yeah,
in different mirrors, just like at different reflections. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's all I had. I won't keep on bringing it back.
No, you're good. All right, let's get into tonight's main topic, which is going back to 2016, the second film of Phase 3 of the MCU, Doctor Strange, starring Benedict Cumberbatch, Chiwetel Ejiofor, Tilda Swinton, and Rachel McAdams. I was trying to read it here on the screen, but it's like all so small. So
and this one was called Doctor Strange Inception, right? That's what the whole title of this was, or the original title.
Yeah,
Doctor Strange Inception. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
Nolan's Doctor Strange Inception. I'm pretty sure that's what the title was.
Mm-hmm. Inception minus the top. So yeah, this. I mean, what are your do you have any fun stories about going to see this? Because I have a story that I want to tell. Do you have any fun stories? Like I remember going to see this opening weekend. But do you have any?
I don't have a story. I just I really loved this movie. One of the writers who I think he said something on a podcast and they didn't ask him back for the second one. But one of the writers is C. Robert Cargill, and I listened to him on a podcast called Spill.com for a long time. And then that turned into Double Toasted. And he's just I just always loved his opinion. I listened to him for years. And he did like a novel, and then somehow he paired up and helped write Doctor Strange. And I was just like, that is huge. I thought it was kind of just like a random personal kind of connection to the film with listening to this guy and being a writer myself and just kind of being proud for him for being a part of this film. But otherwise, that's the only real connection I had to it. I thought it was cool, but I want to hear your story.
My story is I went opening night to see this at my local AMC theater. Yeah, I'm calling them out. Went to catch a 10 o'clock showing. Get to the theater, and the theater is just straight up closed. Like they didn't have a 10 o'clock showing. The internet was wrong. I had already we hadn't bought tickets. Luckily, it was just we're like, oh, we'll just it was on a whim. Like, let's go catch it tonight at 10 o'clock. It was me and my co-host of You Have to Watch This podcast at the time, Ryan. And we're like, well, guess that's not happening tonight. So we ended up scrapping the episode plans, and then I just ended up going to see it over the weekend. That was I think that was the last time I did a Thursday night opening for a Marvel film was Doctor Strange, and the theater was closed.
That's weird. So, I mean, are you blaming AMC or are you blaming Google? Because I'm guessing you Googled it.
I'm blaming the AMC because the AMC near me is so run down, has not been updated since 2005, that where they put in digital projectors. It's so old there that the Pepsi machine outside the theater still has Anakin Skywalker pod racing, which is amazing and is cool. But that's how little they care about updating this theater. It still has the little sticker on it for the Sacagawea dollar coins. Like, it's that old of a vending machine. So
yes, because everybody still carries those around.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But no, I really enjoyed this film just visually. I think this is the most exciting film to watch. Yes, it does look a lot like Inception, but it does a lot of things that even as Inception was kind of like Inception didn't do. Like, it's Inception on acid, I think. I like Benedict Cumberbatch as Doctor Strange. I wasn't a big fan of Sherlock. This was like, and I really didn't like him in Star Trek Into Darkness, but I really liked him as Doctor Strange. He comes across as much of an asshole that he needs to be. But you can also see him being as competent as he is in this show or in the movie.
Yeah, I've always liked him. I really did like him in Sherlock, and I'm trying to think of other things. I agree. I wasn't a big fan of him in as Khan, as Khan that we all knew was Khan, but they told us wasn't Khan until he was Khan.
I can't see Benedict Cumberbatch in a movie without thinking that he's just going to be Khan again. Like, it scarred me for life. Like, I was really expecting him in this to be like he wakes up from his coma. He's like, I'm Khan.
It's bad. I mean, I could talk a whole hour about how bad it was, but it was, it was like they forgot that the whole Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, was referencing something that happened in the past.
Yeah.
So when they realized it's Khan, they're like connecting the dots. But when in these movies, when a random dude in a jail cell says, I'm Khan, nobody knows who that is in the cast. And so there's no, and I swear there were groans in the theater when I saw that movie, because everybody was like, yeah, we know.
Yeah.
We've known for months.
Yeah.
It makes sense in the story. But
I don't think this is the time or place for us to have this conversation, but you and I could absolutely go on for hours talking about this. We'll put a pin in that until Comic-Con. But yeah, Doctor Strange. Yeah.
If you or someone you know is listening to this podcast right now and you're struggling with suicide, addiction, self-harm, or depression, we encourage you guys to please reach out. This is the heartbeat of why we do what we do. Suicide is currently the 10th leading cause of death in the United States, and as of this recording, there are 132 suicides that take place each and every day on American soil. And when you scale back internationally, there are 800,000 successful suicides. That is one death roughly every 40 seconds. So if you or someone you know is struggling, you guys can go to victimsandvillains.net/hope. That resource is going to be right in the description wherever you guys are currently listening or streaming this. There you'll find resources that include the National Suicide Lifeline, which is 1-800-273-8255. You can also text HELP to 741-741. We also have a plethora of other resources, including churches, getting connected with counselors, LGBT resources like the Trevor Project, and also veteran hotline as well. Please, if you hear nothing else in the show, understand that you listening to this right now, have value and worth. We get it. Suicide, depression, mental health, these are hard topics, and the stigma around them doesn't make it any easier. But please consider the resources right in the descriptions below wherever you guys are listening, because once again, you have value and you have worth. So please stay with us.
I remember when this was coming out, there were a lot of people kind of worried. They're like, okay, you're gonna have another kind of snarky, sarcastic guy in a goatee. With Robert Downey's already got that covered with Iron Man with Tony Stark. Do we really need another one? And then just like Guardians of the Galaxy, this was introducing another fantastical element. Not to say that the MCU was grounded, but these were still kind of baby steps that the
Mm-hmm.
MCU was taking into this bigger, grander comic book universe. And yeah, it nailed it. I really thought it did.
I didn't really know much about Doctor Strange before this movie. What I did know was from the Spider-Man animated series. So I was familiar with Dormammu and Mordo, um, and that Doctor Strange lived in New York. But I didn't really know much about the character beyond that. And this was a really good introduction to this, not only this character, but also this mystical realm of magic and the multiverse. Because this is the first time we hear the word multiverse in the MCU is in this film. And I think they've changed what that means since then, but it definitely is the introduction to where we are now with Loki and Multiverse of Madness coming. And
I love Benedict Wong in this. I feel like he is his character has kind of become the new Agents of Shield guy.
Coulson.
Coulson, yeah. I loved Coulson. I loved every time he showed up, even if it was just a little bit. And seeing Benedict Wong show up in things like Shang-Chi and stuff like that, I'm just like, yes, like Doctor Strange isn't the only guy that can do all this. And then according to Spider-Man No Way Home, he's not even the Sorcerer Supreme anymore. So seeing these other people show up every once in a while, I love that. And
yeah,
there's some great characters in there. I know they did the controversial thing with making Tilda Swinton the Ancient One, and that kind of rubbed some feathers the wrong way, but I'm a huge Tilda Swinton fan, so I didn't really care, and I thought she nailed the character.
It wouldn't be so bad if they didn't do the bait and switch with the Asian character during her introduction as the Ancient One. It's like, oh yeah, we know what we're doing here, so we're gonna do this just to mess with you a bit. It's like, okay, it wouldn't been so bad.
Batman Begins.
Yeah,
Ra's al Ghul.
It's exactly like Batman Begins. They do the exact same thing, only this time it's Tilda Swinton and not Liam Neeson.
Sure.
But even in Batman Begins, there's this long, for the whole first act, you don't think Liam Neeson's
Raj. Yeah.
Raj. Yeah. This here, they just do it for the joke, and it just feels weird.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this is a great origin story. I think this film led to the best episode of Marvel's What If. So much so that I've got the evil Doctor Strange back here.
Yeah, I could talk about that episode all day.
Yeah.
But there's, Rachel McAdams is great in the film. I really liked how she clashed with Strange. I like that Strange was just a prick. He was just a rich, arrogant prick to the point where he was choosing the types of people that he would work on, and then he got so bitter when he lost, the use of his hands. And, for, they're going to turn him in to a likable good guy, but man, they had a mountain to climb by the way they set him up in the beginning, because he really wasn't that likable. He was handsome and he was rich, and that's about it, But just like with Tony Stark, they brought him back, and I liked his character's journey throughout the film for sure.
Yeah, Benedict Cumberbatch is definitely doing a Hugh Laurie house impression throughout the whole thing, but it works. I really enjoyed the way they showed his reaction to the car crash. I think they did a great job with the car crash itself, showing the dashboard come up and crush his hands the way they do, and then just the way they deal with his trauma from that, and his dealing with recovery. You can absolutely see how a man like this goes off and joins what's pretty much a cult to learn how to use his hands again. And I think
he almost didn't join him. He almost he tried to call him on their bullshit, and then Tilda did the whole take your soul out of your body thing, and and opened his mind, and but yeah, he was definitely desperate. And then once he realized that there was something real, he was so desperate he was trying to skip steps, like advance ahead, and he ended up becoming really great because he did that thing that you always like to see. Everybody else goes to sleep, he stays up and studies, and progresses quicker.
My one thing that bugs me about this movie is the timeline of it. Because I think they had a perfect opportunity to have his accident take place in like 2008. Have it be something else that happened during Fury's big week, but nothing that Fury was actually involved with. So like pre Avengers, you have Doctor Strange have his accident and lose use of his hands. But instead, and then he spends years training to become the Sorcerer Supreme. Instead, this all takes place in 2016. Like, this is the film that takes place timeline wise 2 films before Infinity War. I think it's this, and then Ragnarok, and then Infinity War.
Wait, really? This is in the plot of the MCU. This is post Civil War and post.
Yeah,
we know that for certain. There's things that
so when they show his watch collection, he has an award that says 2016. So I think the implication is this takes place in late 2016 when the film came out. And I think they haven't said it specifically, but the one patient who was in an accident involving experimental armor, I think is supposed to be Rhodey in Civil War.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah. Well, I mean, the only thing that was driving the timeline of this movie was Mads Mikkelsen's character, who is Caseless. Kate, what's his name? I don't remember his name. It's Case.
Calcius.
Something.
Callus. I don't know.
Mads Mikkelsen. His mission is the only thing that's really dry. If we didn't have that introduced in the beginning, then there wouldn't be. You could have said that this took a little more time, but he's doing his thing in the background, and it kind of, pushes the pace of the movie.
Even the timeline of that is kind of confusing. So he steals the stuff from the Agent One, and then like a few months later, Doctor Strange comes to them and becomes a sorcerer. And then after a few weeks of him training, then he decides to start reading the pages. Like,
right. Wait, did he not have to get something else? Or
I thought it was
that plus the stone or something that he. No,
I don't think so.
He didn't need the stone.
It's a lot like Empire Strikes Back, where it's like, okay, so you have Han and Leia in an asteroid field, like right after Hoth, but then Luke's training on Dagobah for what looks like weeks, but it's all happening at the same time. So he's only on Dagobah for like 3 days.
Sure. Sure. Yeah.
But
yeah,
I forgive it.
I mean, Mads' character wasn't a huge part of the movie, honestly. He was just kind of the thing that was happening in the background, which, to be honest, I was a little sad about. I love Mads Mikkelsen. I feel like that dude is a hell of an actor. I have not seen the latest Fantastic Beasts movie, but 9 times out of 10, he is underutilized. Every time I see like, oh, he's going to be in Star Wars, not a huge part in Star Wars, or oh, he's going to be in Doctor Strange, not a huge part in Doctor Strange. I mean, other than like his indie films or Hannibal, he rarely gets time to really shine.
Yeah.
And that was like the only kind of disappointing thing, was that his villain role was really like not that big of a deal in the movie. It was the villain that he was trying to bring, to Earth that was the big bad. He was just kind of the servant that gets what he's due at the end.
It's what the Marvel origin stories usually do. It's same versus same. So you have Iron Man versus Ironmonger. You have Captain America versus Red Skull. Doctor Strange versus another sorcerer. Like it's the same villain, like same power set. But I think they did a great job of showing Doctor Strange struggle with his fight, like especially at the Sanctum in New York. Like they show him struggle with the fight, but also be able to hold his own still, which I thought was impressive. And
it only works because he's like the best doctor of them all. So you
Mhm.
forgive him learning this stuff so quickly because he's already like mastered something that most people could never master. And so that bleeds over to this. Like, he's studied and became the perfect doctor. And so to become the perfect sorcerer, he applied the same energy and the same work ethic. And so you kind of let things slide, and the believability of that is works because of his character and his background.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think this film has a great cast.
Mm-hmm.
Chiwetel Ejiofor did a really good job as Mordo, because I was like, not knowing much about Doctor Strange, I was confused that Mordo was a good guy in this. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I thought he was a villain, and then at the end of it, like, he does turn to the dark side, but you can actually see his progression to and how he got there. And I think they do a really good job with that character and exploring like what makes one of these sorcerers turn against their mission. And I think you see him slowly start to lose faith in what they're doing and how they're going about doing it. And I think they do a really good job of exploring that character. And I'm really glad that they didn't just drop him from the sequel, because when I heard it was going to be called Multiverse of Madness, like, there's no way they're doing Mordo.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. It's been a minute since I've seen this film, so maybe I'm remembering it not as well. But I remember it as they could have done more to show his descent, because I I remember at the end when he does turn, it made sense, but I was like, okay, sequel bait. Like, I thought they could have drove it home a little more. And Edgy for it has done things like, he did that Firefly movie, Serenity, and
Hmm.
I don't know if you've ever seen that, but he was the
Yeah.
bad guy in that film, and it was a very similar kind of bad guy, to where he was driven by just kind of logic, and he wasn't one of those evil laugh villains or one of those deeply passionate villains. It was just like a mission, and that mission seemed to be for the greater good. And so he just had his goal in sight and would do whatever he needed to do to get to it, and he didn't take overt amount of pleasure with it. And so I
Yeah.
kind of saw that as similar to what Mordo was at the end, saying, everything's wrong now, and there shouldn't be any sorcerers, and so I'm going to be interested to see his character return in Multiverse of Madness. And I'm not gonna lie, when I've tried not to I have not seen any of the TV spots
Okay.
outside of the uh the the second trailer that came out. I've seen nothing else, but you see a little bit of him in that show, in
Yeah.
that trailer. And other than the point where he's kind of leading Doctor Strange into that tribunal, he doesn't really seem like a bad guy. There's like little clips that almost seems like he's like the good guy again, or a partner
Yeah.
again. And I hope they don't go full into that. I hope they don't like totally wipe away his villain role, because he's supposed to be going around killing all the sorcerers in the world. And
Yeah.
has he been doing that over all this time? Has Wong just not wanted to go after him or anything, or what?
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see, because like, we don't see him there, but was Mordo at the battle in Endgame? Like, because every other sorcerer was like, does he show up there?
Right. For the greater good, did he join in on the fight, or
Yeah.
was he like, I hope more sorcerers die in the battle or something?
Because if he's going around killing sorcerers, he's not doing a good job just based on that scene. There's still a
Right.
lot.
There's still plenty. Yeah.
Weird use of
And
Benjamin
he
Bratt
didn't
in
seem
this.
like a threat in Spider-Man No Way Home. Like that, it just seemed like, we're just kicking it here at the.
My theory is he's the one who reset the seals on that portal, so that's why it was all covered in snow. Like, he's not killing Doctor Strange, but he's just messing with him.
He's just a prankster now.
He's just a prank.
jester. He's not
Yeah.
like a threat. Just like, I just want to annoy him. I don't want
Yeah.
to kill him. You know?
Now that he's back from being blipped, let's just mess with him.
Yeah. Oh, that could be a reason. He could have been blipped, and so he
Yeah.
hasn't been killing all these sorcerers.
I don't think he was blipped though. Just based on how long his hair is in those trailers, I don't think he was blipped.
Oh, sure. Yeah, it's pretty long.
I think going into Multiverse of Madness, Doctor Strange is about the only character who was blipped, because Wong was around. It looks like Christine was still around because it looks like she's getting married to someone. So I'm excited that the film potentially is going to deal with the repercussions of one character being blipped and what happened to the world around them, because we haven't really seen that yet in anything. Like a little bit in Falcon and Winter Soldier with Sam, but
well, and I have a theory about that too that I want to ask you about, but
yeah,
that's I can hold that off as we finish our talk about the first film.
Yeah,
I really liked the first film. I liked the showdown at the end. I thought that was kind of, at first I was like, oh no, this is Green Lantern all over again, just Green Lantern versus this blob from space. But I liked that that Doctor Strange just went all like he just outsmarted him. He outwitted him. That was kind of cool. That was a neat trick.
A trick that he learned from a Bill Murray movie. So
yes.
No, I absolutely love the way he defeats Dormammu, because it's not about punching and using magic. It's all about, or I guess it's using magic. It's just about outsmarting him, outwitting him, and wearing him down to the point where he gives up. And I absolutely love that sequence. Rewatching it last night, I was like, this is fantastic.
Yeah, this whole movie is very rewatchable. Like it's fun. There's a lot of fun elements to it. I give it crap for the Inception stuff, but it looks really cool. All of that stuff, all the kaleidoscope stuff that happens, it's really neat. And then when you add that into an action scene, and you got him running on the side of buildings trying to get after Mads, and everything, and you got Tilda Swinton being a badass in a yellow hood. Like it was just cool. There's a lot of really cool sequences in the film.
And I think Scott Derrickson did a great job directing this. He has done a lot of horror films, and there's not really much horror to this, but it's just like there's a lot of concepts of things that need to be explained. And I feel like that's something that happens a lot in horror movies. Like, why is this book summoning all these zombies? Well, this is why. And I think that he does a really good job of telling the story to us to a point where somebody who doesn't know about Doctor Strange, doesn't know about the Ancient One or Mordo, can understand what's going on and go along for the ride.
Yeah, it did a really good job explaining the world to you, because it is a complex world, but they did a really good job doing that. I was really impressed by that. And I think a lot of people knew about Derrickson's horror background. And once because they announced Multiverse of Madness fairly soon after this movie. Like it hasn't, the official titles didn't drop until more recently, but it's been rumored that that's where this was going to go for the sequel for years. And people were like, okay, that seems more like a horror based Strange movie, where bring back Derrickson. He'll be able to shine in that. And then of course he ended up not being a part of that film, and it's the same old, creative differences. But it does make me wonder, because you talked about the What If series, and that got pretty dark. So I can't imagine they couldn't go dark with this Doctor Strange movie. And Sam Raimi's doing it. He certainly has a horror background. So I wonder what the creative differences were, since Derrickson seemed to nail this first movie so well.
Yeah, I really don't know. I think if I had to guess, it would be that they didn't want to go as deep into horror as he wanted to. I think he wanted to push it more than than Marvel did, than Disney did. And I think he's still getting like a writing credit on this. And I think he's still a producer on it. Like he left, and then quickly they hired Sam Raimi. So I think I'm hoping that it was more amicable than something like Edgar Wright and Ant-Man. Because he hasn't really said much about it. Whereas Edgar Wright's like, yeah, I'm never doing a Marvel movie.
Probably because he's smart.
Yeah.
Because one, he's not Edgar Wright, and two, that usually goes down not well for the person that talks shit. Look at Chronicle, dude, and pretty much anybody else, especially anybody else that spoke out against Kevin Feige. Just don't do it. Just if you're gonna go to bed with Disney, it doesn't work out the way you want, just don't talk shit when you leave.
I don't think Chronicle guy's issue was with Kevin Feige. I think that was more with the Fox Marvel. So
yeah, no, I wasn't saying his was because he was Josh Trank was doing Fantastic Four, and that was all that was a lot of back and forth with Fox. No, I wasn't saying him.
Fan Forstick.
I was just saying, Fan Forstick.
Yeah,
but he talked a lot of shit, and it seems like the people that don't talk shit come out on top. Like even Zack Snyder, I think most people, when they really read what happened and everything, would agree that he got the short end of that stick. He got a shitty deal.
Mm-hmm.
And he could have talked a lot of shit. And people were talking a lot of shit for him, and he could have easily just been like, yeah, I agree. He never did. He was always a smile on his face. It's not like he went and saw Justice League, but he kept his mouth shut, and then eventually they ended up giving him a shot, and I think that paid off in his favor.
I think the most he did was somebody would ask him about something from the Justice League. Like, so in your version, who won the race, the Flash or Superman? He's like, the what? Like
what? Because he's never seen it. Under Christopher Nolan's suggestion, he's never seen that movie, and good on him for not seeing it. That's awesome.
Good for Christopher Nolan to telling him that. All right, I guess we can wrap up our conversation on Doctor Strange here with our Rorschach rating. On a scale of 1 to 5, what do you give this?
I give it like a 4.5 out of 5. It's not among the top tier, but it's definitely really good. I feel like there's plenty of films that are lesser than this in the MCU. It's definitely one of the best solo films, especially introduction films. It's a strong introduction film.
I'm right there with you. 4.5. This is one of my favorites of the MCU, especially of the first films for a character. It's everything we talked about. Plus, this was the first Michael Giacchino MCU score, and I absolutely love what he did with the music in this. To the point where I was looking last night to try to find it on vinyl, and evidently they never released it. So, hopefully they will soon. But yeah, this is one of my. If I had to watch a Marvel movie, this is one of my go-tos. But my rewatch last night was the first time I watched my Blu-ray. So,
okay, it's a solid film, and I agree with you. It seems kind of like, now that you think about it, it is so close to Infinity War and Endgame. They really threw this character in at the last second before those. It was him and Captain Marvel that were thrown in at the last second, but Doctor Strange just seemed so seamless. Like he doesn't have a huge role in those films, but he works really well in those films. He's very well. I mean, I guess he has a bigger role in Infinity War. He's gone for most of Endgame.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up, because Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness is coming out in 2 weeks. I'm going through and watching the Doctor Strange stuff before that, just to get caught up. When I get to Endgame, I'm probably just going to skip the whole time travel thing and just go right into the final battle.
Yeah, because he's not in the whole movie until the end.
Yeah, and as much as I love the time travel stuff, I have yet to do this yet, but I think Endgame as a film still works if you cut out the time heist. And I'm going to do that. Like, that's how I'm going to watch it my next time. It's going to be jarring when it comes to Black Widow, but I am excited to do that experiment with my my watch. I will let you know how it goes when we talk about either the Moon Knight episode or our Multiverse of Madness review.
But boy, did does his sophomore film get a huge assist by Spider-Man No Way Home, because he is a bigger part of that film than I thought he was gonna be. And it was great. Like,
Yeah.
I think when Spider-Man, what was the first one? Was that Homecoming first
Homecoming.
came out? Everybody, there was even jokes where they replaced all the pictures on the poster with Iron Man, and they're like, "Is this really a Spider-Man film, or is this an Iron Man film that
Yeah.
happens to have a Spider-Man cameo?" And people could have done the same thing with No Way Home, but it really worked well. He felt like it felt like you can't have a movie in New York without referencing, the guy that lives there. And yeah, it worked really well. And that's what I was saying about this new film. I think the trailers are all like, you messed with the timeline, you messed things up. And I think it's a misdirect. I think it's supposed to be like, because of the things that happened in No Way Home. I don't think that's I don't think that's what they're talking about. I think he does something else.
Oh yeah, I absolutely agree. Now that we're getting into multiverse of madness talk here, so let me update the poster here on screen. Um, yeah, I absolutely think the No Way Home like his actions in that are definitely the red herring for this movie. I think something else does happen. I think it's going to be a result of his action, like a result of him dealing with the fact that everyone in his life has moved on without him. He's no longer social supreme. Christine is getting married. And maybe some side effects of what happened in No Way Home, because he now doesn't have that connect. Like, he doesn't have a connection to one other person who was on Titan with him from Earth. Like, he doesn't have the Guardians there to talk to. He had Peter. Tony's gone. So I think it's going to be like, he's going to be very isolated. And I'm curious to see how this plays out.
Because they were working on this film on top of Spider-Man, and I think there was a recent interview where Kevin Feige has pretty much come out and said, we allow time, we insert time for reshoots and edits as we shoot these movies because of the constant flow of the MCU. So
yeah,
they incorporate that time in, knowing that there's a good chance from the time they decide what the movie's going to be to the time they shoot it to the time they release it, that they likely will have to change things to make it work in the MCU. And the farther we get into this universe, the more I can only imagine the cork board or whatever he has in his office with all the strings and the things that he has to keep in mind.
Yeah,
he's done a great job so far, but that's got to get like a more daunting task with each film that comes out.
How would you guys like to help us get mental health resources into schools, conventions, and other events? Well, now you can. Simply go to patreon.com/victims and villains for as little as $1 a month. You guys can help us get mental health resources into current and upcoming generations, educate and break down stigma surrounding mental health, suicide, and depression. And you get exclusive content that you can't get anywhere else. And you guys can tell us which Nicolas Cage movie you want us to cover, and we'll do it. All it takes to get started is to go to patreon.com/victims and villains, or simply click the link in the episode description wherever you guys are currently listening or streaming this episode. Pick your tier and get started today. Yes, it's that simple. So quickly select the tier that you want and help us get hope into the hands of the depressed and the suicidal today.
and like, this one seems like it's going, like, it's such a weird time right now for Marvel, having just got all of the Fox characters back. Dark Sage in chat says, I have a theory about what's going to happen in this movie. Go ahead and drop it in the chat. Let's hear what your theory is, and we'll talk about it.
It's a theory. As long as it's not a spoiler,
yeah,
and you haven't like actually found some type of secret information,
yeah,
I'd like to hear it.
Yeah, absolutely. It feels like this is a good opportunity, and I think we've both seen the trailer that features a certain voice
And a slightly blurred bald head.
Yes. I think bringing Patrick Stewart's Xavier back into this is like the start of what, like, I don't think the MCU that we know now is going to be the MCU we have at the end of this movie. I think all this multiverse stuff has led to this film, and I think after this we're going to live in the Marvel Cinematic Multiverse.
Maybe I could see that happening. I could also see, because they did reshoots as early as a couple months ago, as was reported. And I think a lot of those things are probably going to be maybe referencing the No Way Home stuff and everything like that. But here's the thing. I've heard that this movie is jam-packed with cameos. I've heard there's a lot of different things. This movie is almost a half an hour less than No Way Home. And think of all of the cameos and all the stuff they did with No Way Home. And this movie has 30 minutes less than that film. I think that we could come out of this in a totally different MCU, or it could be another Quicksilver in WandaVision type situation, where at first you're like, oh snap, here we go, this is the X-Men coming in, and then that is totally not what happens at the end. Or something could get resolved at the end, and that's not where they go with it. I hope they don't. I hope they pull the trigger and have the cojones to go forward with it. But I could see them pulling the safety net back and being like, oh no, we resolved it, so we're not going in that direction just yet.
Yeah, I mean, I hope they at least give us an idea of where they're going, because for the last few Marvel films, like, I thought Spider-Man No Way, I thought Venom, and maybe this is a Sony thing, I thought Venom, Spider-Man No Way Home, and then Morbius were going to explain what Sony's plan was going forward. And I still haven't gotten those answers. I don't think Sony has those answers either. But I'm hoping at the end of this, we'll have an idea of what is coming from the MCU. I think they'll start to announce more release dates over the summer of films that are scheduled, but right now just untitled Marvel project.
Yeah, because technically this is phase 4. I feel like the MCU has just let go of phases, because they were clear as day back in the day. Like, you knew phase 1, you knew what was phase 2, you knew phase 3 ended with Endgame / Far From Home. It was pretty, like, telegraphed really well. It felt like that. After ever since Far From Home, between the Disney Plus stuff, between that weird misplaced Black Widow prequel thing, whatever, and all of the Disney Plus shows, and then No Way Home being the big monumental thing that's starting to move things forward. It just feels like we're just out there. It doesn't feel like a phase 4 yet. And it doesn't help, like, COVID didn't help that at all with release dates changing. Like, this movie was supposed to come out before Spider-Man No Way Home, but everything got pushed around so much that they had to rewrite that, and I'm sure this. I'm of what we know in this movie, I'm excited to see America Chavez in this. My wife is a big fan. That's a new thing that's coming. They're jamming so much into this film. It's a lot for 2 hours.
It is. My wife's a fan of the character. I don't know her that well. I'll probably try to read some of her comics before the movie comes out. But the poster that I have up here has a whole bunch of Easter eggs and teasers in it, in references to things like Captain Carter. All right, Dr. Sage posted their thing. The text here is very small. I think this movie will set up the arrival of Kang as the next major villain. I think the multiverse is now open. Kang will see the Avengers as a threat to himself and others, and will try to repair the damage done by the spell Strange used, but in a twist. The movie is in the next phase will have something go wrong, and not only bring him, but also Galactus, because I still believe Galactus is coming in the multiverse. This multiverse travel will have different versions of him and Kang that will show up.
Yeah, because Kang was the final boss in Loki, and we're getting a season 2 of Loki.
Yeah,
and
I know.
I don't. Go ahead.
I know Kang is supposed to show up in Ant-Man Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. So
yeah, of course that could be a version of him and not the same Kang that's in Loki. I wouldn't be surprised if we. I think a lot of people are assuming he's going to be the next Thanos, or the step to Galactus being the next Thanos. I could see Galactus being the next big bad. I don't see Kang showing up in this film.
yeah,
I really don't like. I don't know that there'll be a big bad in this film. I wouldn't be surprised if this film is just him trying to fix the spider web of consequences of his actions,
Yeah.
and then he comes across there's the evil Doctor Strange, whether or not that's the what if Doctor Strange or not. But I can't see another baddie on top of that, and Mordor or
Mordo,
For,
and then you have Scarlet Witch in here.
Oh yeah, we haven't even talked about that. If they don't make her a villain, and I've heard about a TV spot, I have not seen it. And there's a thing in the trailer that makes it look like there's 2 of her. I swear to God, if they cheap out and make a mirror universe version of her the villain, and not the Wanda from WandaVision more of a villain, I will be disappointed, because she is the villain. She is the villain of that show. She needs to have her. She needs to have her big villain moment.
I hope that she is the villain of this. I think story-wise, it makes the most sense for the Wanda from WandaVision in the MCU to be the villain and be jumping to other universes to try to find her kids. But I think
I could see that.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to rewatch WandaVision before this comes out, because I haven't watched it beginning to end since it came out, but I feel like it's one of those ones that you could probably watch in an afternoon. So
yeah, well, because I think the first few episodes were super short too.
Oh, yeah.
And then you got to wonder if Monica Rambeau is going to be in this, because there's at least in the trailer I saw, there's a super powered figure that looks like it could be Rambeau.
there's a lot of speculation about who that is. And
oh yeah, I've seen everything from Tom Cruise,
Yeah.
with a superior Iron Man, to it looks like a black person. I'm just saying, it looks like Rambeau. But,
if it's Tom Cruise, I will be very surprised that he's doing a cameo in a Marvel thing. That doesn't seem like something Tom Cruise would do.
I don't know, man. That dude seems like he was in Tropic Thunder, and that is not, when you think of Tom
I forgot
Cruise,
about
you
that.
don't think of Tropic Thunder. Like, I could see him doing something like this where he's not committed, just like Matt Damon showing up in Thor 2, randomly. Like, there are people that you just don't see committing to this, but could be cool enough to come in for a random thing.
Speaking of Matt Damon, in Thor Ragnarok, they are doing another scene like that, and I think he's returning to play Loki. But I know there are some other people joining that scene, and what they're retelling Ragnarok, and I'm very excited to see how that plays out in Love and Thunder. So
I haven't heard much about the scene, but I'm pretty sure I heard that Sam Neill was a part of that group.
Yeah, I think he's coming back, because he was in Ragnarok as well.
Was he?
Yeah, he was
Odin,
he was Odin.
Something?
Yeah.
Okay. I like Sam Neill.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is a good theory, Dark Sage. I don't know if it's all going to come out in this film. I could see this theory playing out in the grander scheme of the MCU. I think Galactus is something. It could be interesting, but how are you going to do Galactus without Silver Surfer and
Yeah.
Fantastic Four elements and stuff like that? I feel like that's a little down the road.
So real quick, since this is going to be the last time we talk about Doctor Strange before the movie comes out, if you had to pick one Marvel character from another Marvel film, doesn't matter which franchise, doesn't matter which studio, if you had to pick one to have a cameo in Multiverse of Madness, who would you choose?
Oh gosh, man, you should have told me this in advance so I could have thought about this. I mean, outside of the inevitable Bruce Campbell cameo that's going to be in this film,
oh yeah,
he's in there somewhere.
He's in the cast. He's
he?
talked about. He did a thing this year where he posted a picture on April Fool's Day of him in a makeup chair, getting like the gray sideburns and the goatee to look like Doctor Strange, and I think last year or the year before he posted a scene from like a snippet of the script, and it was Doctor Strange talking to this guy at S-Mart, and it's revealed to be Ash from The Evil Dead. So
wow, I wasn't expecting an Ash cameo. I was expecting a Bruce Campbell, who's in every Sam Raimi movie ever.
Yeah,
cameo.
I'm expecting a Sam Raimi cameo, or I'm expecting a Bruce Campbell cameo. For me, it would be really cool to see Ben Affleck as Daredevil show up in this.
Oh, you're talking about stuff like that.
Yeah.
That could be cool, because I could go off about that film. The director's cut of that film, I actually really love.
I just bought it on Blu-ray at like a thrift shop.
Yeah.
So
it's good. It's good. They cut out the sex scene. They talk more about him as a lawyer, and it was good. I wouldn't mind a Hugh Jackman cameo. I think if anybody in the X-Men universe has earned a crossover, it's Patrick Stewart and Hugh Jackman. I think that could be really cool. Even if it's just a snippet. I wouldn't be surprised if Deadpool shows up.
I wouldn't either. It feels like if Deadpool were to show up in this, I hope it's in the post-credits scene and they can just make it a huge joke. Or if Doctor Strange is getting in trouble for multiverse time travel stuff, just have Deadpool be in a cell, like being punished for the end of Deadpool 2.
Oh, sure. Sure. You could do a lot of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
If there's time I hope they don't do time travel. I hope it's just, well, it could be time travel based on what he's doing.
Yeah.
That's kind of what he did in What If and the consequences for What If. So,
yeah.
Or any of the Spider-Man, they brought him in for this. They did reshoots while they were, finishing up on No Way Home. I wouldn't be surprised if
you've got Sam Raimi directing a Marvel movie and it deals with the multiverse and you don't get Tobey Maguire in there for a scene, what's the point?
Yeah.
I mean, I won't be
at the
same time. We already got him in a movie, and I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
If we get more, great.
Disney helping out Sony for Spider-Man, the furthering of their Spider-Man thing. They've already helped them out enough.
Yeah. I did hear, and this is just speculation, and it's not really spoilery, but I did hear that all of the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies, this will have a 2-minute opening credit montage set to Danny Elfman's score.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah.
There was, like I said, I've avoided a lot of speculation. I haven't dug deep into this film. I listen to John Campea a lot on YouTube. Sometimes I really like some of the stuff he says. Sometimes I really disagree with him. But he apparently has a Marvel contact that he was following up on a rumor. And the guy said, he was following up on why the press screenings were so late for this film.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's usually one of two things. Either they really don't want things dropping to the public, or they don't have good faith in the film. So they don't want press screenings too far in advance, because then it's going to link that it's not a great film and nobody will go see it. I seriously doubt that's the case here. But the Marvel contact came back and claimed there are more holy shit moments in this film than there were in Infinity War, Endgame, and No Way Home combined.
Yeah.
So, and you're talking about a film that is significantly shorter than all of those three films. So it makes me excited. It makes me worried because, the more stuff you jam into a film, the less memorable that film gets, and I would hate for it to just be a cameo train without any substance. I can't see that happening, but gosh, I've just heard of so much stuff being crammed into this film
I
that I'm worried.
I have a lot of faith in Sam Raimi being able to keep the film moving so it doesn't drag at all, so it doesn't feel like there are like moments where you don't need it. I feel like he's learned his
I don't
lesson.
think it's gonna drag.
I
Just
well,
about enough time.
I think he's just gonna get this thing going. I don't think there's gonna be any like room for dance montages down the street with Doctor Strange. I think it's just gonna be a lot of story, and they're just gonna not waste any time getting into everything. I think if there is a 2-minute montage at the beginning of the film, it's gonna get you caught up on what Wanda's been up to, what Doctor Strange has been up to. It's gonna catch you up on the events of WandaVision, Spider-Man No Way Home, and Endgame. Like, get you caught up on where everyone's at, what the world's like. And I think that's what it's gonna be, and then just get right into it.
I do wonder how much this show is going to reference or catch you up on WandaVision, because there was a time when Kevin Feige was like, look, these Disney Plus shows are supposed to expand the characters and give you a little more depth. But he initially said that you would not need to watch these to understand the films. Like, you could continue to go to the films and not necessarily need to see the shows to understand the theatrical MCU. I think he's walked that back since.
Yeah.
But I'd be interested to see if there is a big effort to last time on WandaVision with this movie or not.
Yeah, we'll see. I have my tickets booked. I'm going to see it the Saturday it comes out. I'm gonna have to wait until then.
It's Thursday night, baby. I'm sorry.
If I could, I still might do Thursday night. My wife teaches, so she can't do Thursday night. I mean, she did for Spider-Man, but that was,
it was Spider-Man.
It was Spider-Man. She wanted to I think it was like the day before break. She just wanted to rub it into her kid's face. Like, yeah, keep it up, behave, or else I'm going to spoil Spider-Man for you.
Or Spider-Man.
So
that's great.
This is the first time in years that we get to do our annual tradition with the Marvel release in the first week of May, where we go see it on Free Comic Book Day and go buy comic books and just spend the day nerding out. Yeah. So I'm excited for that because it's been years. I'm seeing it in Screen X, so that's going to be interesting.
We're seeing it in Dolby.
Nice.
Atmos at the biggest screen in town. So yeah. You gotta get the nice screen for something like this. You know it's gonna be trippy. You know it's gonna be CGI heavy, so you need the best screen to see.
Oh yeah, I'll probably see it twice opening weekend at least, because I think we're covering it on my show. You Have to Watch This podcast, so I usually end up going to see it with one of my co-hosts, just to get him out to the theater. So, I think that does it for our Doctor Strange review and Moon Knight review, which is what the description says on Twitch, and our Multiverse of Madness preview. All things Marvel madness, if you will.
Yes.
Josh, where can everyone find you?
You can find me online. I'm out there. Fiercelit.com is the website. I will be at Planet Comic-Con this weekend in Kansas City. That's my first... it's my second major Comic-Con of the year. It's going to be great. Kevin Conroy is going to be there amongst a few other greats that I'm hoping to convince my buddy Seth to watch the booth while I, skip over there and say hi. So it's going to be fun. It should be a good time. What about you?
You can find me on my show, You Have to Watch This podcast, where we'll be hosting host of Victims and Villains podcast, Josh, on our show tomorrow, talking about Nick Cage and talking about 4 Nick Cage films in preparation for The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. You can find us here on Twitch. You have to watch this podcast, Facebook, Instagram, wherever you get your podcasts. You can also find me on Instagram at acram, CRAMM 4815. I think that does it.
Speaking of your podcast, we talked about doing a Blade thing. I wouldn't mind seeing Wesley Snipes pop up in Multiverse of Madness. Just as a passing of the torch thing for Blade. That'd be kind of fun.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that would resonate well with you. I don't know if you've seen Blade 1 yet, but we were going to watch Blade 2 together.
Oh yeah, I need to watch Blade 1. I'd be excited for that. So, yeah.
Wesley Snipes, man.
Oh yeah,
Can't
absolutely.
not get excited about Snipes.
I mean, you can if you're Rosie Perez at the Oscars. But
yeah.
All right, I think that does it for Victims and Villains. I'm Alan.
I'm Josh.
And until next time when we have more Marvel stuff to talk about, Excelsior.